Now that the St. Louis Cardinals have traded away Nolan Arenado, all eyes are pivoted to Brendan Donovan. Will they find the suitor that they're looking for? Will they find someone to meet the asking price? Or will Brendan Donovan be on, at least for the beginning of the 2026 St. Louis Cardinals? Also, some projections have now come out about the Cardinals win total, and it's not pretty. So
They're
we'll
closer to
look
what I was saying.
we'll look at that today, and then maybe even get some coverage of this international free agent class. It's pretty exciting for the Cardinals. All coverage today on this episode of D on the Cards. Welcome back into D on the Cards. Josh, Andrew, well, not Andrew, Josh and Sandy. Andrew has a scheduled rest day today. Okay, so we're running a 6-man rotation here, and he's got the off day. But or I guess I don't know, maybe do a Jordan Walker joke here. But thanks for joining the D on the Cards podcast. Appreciate you guys jumping in as always. Got a fun turnout so far, and hopefully we can get some more to chat so far. We've got a bunch of regulars here today, like Zach Tack, John, Enrico. Yeah, I mean, cards in 28. That's a good time. So drop a thumbs up on the videos we're going through. We appreciate the support as always. I don't have a pack today. I'm sorry. I'm waiting to get to 314 on Saturday to get one. So because I like to support local and support our sponsor here. So we are presented by 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles, and we'll tell you more about them here in a little bit. So enough of load management for Andrew talk today. We do want to talk about Brendan Donovan. So in the aftermath of Nolan Arenado going to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Alex Bregman, more importantly, going to the Cubs for this scenario, the Boston Red Sox kind of surprised a lot of people yesterday by putting out big money for Ranger Suarez to upgrade their rotation even further. And now Boston has a plethora of arms right now to go to. They've already traded for Sonny Gray from the Cardinals. They traded for Johan Oviedo earlier this offseason to go on top of Garrett Crochet and Bello. And then they've got Toyle and Early, and they've got Cutter Crawford, and they've just got plenty of arms right now. Now, you never have enough pitching this day and age, but it's caused a lot of people to look at them and say, they're probably not a team that's going to spend on a bat right now because they're already past the second luxury tax threshold, and they're probably not going to push the third one. But if you do look at their lineup right now, specifically the infield, they're still missing probably one more guy, especially with how all in they are right now. Like, clearly they're going for it. You don't make all these moves and take on all this money to not go for it right now. So is that Nico Horner? Is that Isaac Paredes? Is that Brendan Donovan? There's a lot of speculation out there right now. You go to Seattle, they've been linked to them all offseason. San Francisco obviously has been linked to Brendan Donovan as well. Kansas City to a lesser extent. I think Ken Rosenthal talked today that he still thinks Seattle is the favorite for Brendan Donovan. Others have pivoted to thinking the Red Sox could make a lot of sense. Giants apparently have made a strong push over the last week for him and Nico Horner as well, especially in light of the Bregman trade. Again, Kansas City Royals always seem to be lurking. I think after the Arenado trade the other day, you think you and I and Andrew put the trade still very likely that a Brendan Donovan trade happens. But do you feel like this market is heating up for Donovan? They're going to get what they want from this still? Or do you feel like we're trending toward a Brendan Donovan on the opening day roster at this point?
Yeah, I think the market's actually heating up. I think things are going in the right direction because I think the Cardinals have been rewarded for waiting on Brendan Donovan now. I think if you told Chaim Bloom before the offseason started that he could have Brendan Donovan still on his roster with all of these things having happened on whatever the date is today, January 15th, I think he'd have been really excited about that scenario, right? Like, that's a lot of leverage that he's gained. Ketel Marte, not on the market. Brandon Lau went to a team that we didn't think was involved in the second base market. You know, Nico Horner probably not being moved. Alex Bregman off the market. Nolan Arenado off your team.
Ketel Marte off the market.
Yeah, exactly. He's staying, right? So now you're not pressured to make a deal because you got the big thing done. You got Arenado moved. You figured that situation out. And in theory, you can keep Donovan if you want to.
Yep.
But it's not as if you have to make this move. You've already freed up enough at bats that you can work JJ Weatherhilton with no issues now.
Yep.
So on your side, there's no pressure and there's way more leverage. Now it's like, look, Brandon Lau's gone. Ketel Marte's not available. So one of the Giants, Mariners, and maybe the Red Sox, Yankees, like whoever wants to be in the second base market, at least one or two of these teams are going to be left out in the cold after Brendan Donovan is traded. So I think the conditions are right for a bidding war for Brendan Donovan. I think the Cardinals will. I don't know if they get everything they want because I think the Cardinals value Brendan Donovan more highly than other people. And I think they're right. I think the rest of the league is missing on a guy who's a stud. But yeah, I think if you told Hein Bloom, in early November, this is the scenario you get to have on January 15th, he'd be very excited about that. Things have gone very well for the Brendan Donovan market.
Yeah, I think Space Magic put another maybe potential domino in the mix as well. The Bo Bichette market, I think, does influence things. I mean, you've
Yeah.
seen Philly linked to him, and if he goes to Philly, it's like, yeah, obviously Philly is one of the players right now, but could Philly then pivot to, or could Alec Boehm become way more available? And then is that the move that Boston makes or Seattle makes? So I think that does throw a little bit of a wrench, and obviously Alec Boehm is not Brendan Donovan, but
Yeah, Brendan Donovan's a much better player than Alec Boehm.
yeah, but a team might pivot to say, hey, 1 year of Alec Boehm at a far less prospect capital price and a right-handed bat might be their move. Especially when you look at Boston, they are already very left-handed bat heavy right now, and so I don't really love that. I mean, like if I were Boston, I would probably be trying to get a right-handed bat if I can. But obviously, I love Brendan Donovan, so I would love to have Brendan Donovan if I'm any team. So I do
Boston
think
loves to take players from the Cardinals, so
exactly. So I think the Bo Bichette side of things does matter, whether it's Philly or someone else. I think that could continue to influence the market. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of the Brendan Donovan suitors are linked to Bo Bichette. Maybe San Francisco ends up sneaking in there. But I agree with you. I feel like the market in general has mostly broke the Cardinals' way this offseason. And that doesn't mean they get the offer they want. Teams could still end up saying, hey, we'd rather just go into the offseason with a question mark at second base than spend what it needs to get Brendan Donovan. But it does feel like there's a lot of teams out there, specifically Boston is one of them, who have been ultra aggressive this offseason and trying to upgrade their roster. And so does that mean they part with Toyle or Early or not Cutter Crawford or Kyson Witherspoon to make it happen?
like probably not, but
probably not.
I think it's not off the table right now. Look, Boston has shown a desire to dump money at multiple points here, right? Whether you're talking about the Rafael Devers move, whether you're talking about not re-signing Alex Bregman, or the Mookie Betts trade, earlier on in the Hein Bloom tenure, right? So I think after they commit all this money to Ranger Suarez, it wouldn't shock me if they're looking to save somewhere. And if they could dump that Yoshida contract, I think they'd be pretty excited about doing that. Also, bringing in Ranger Suarez for the next 5 years, like Craig Breslow knows that you only have 5 pitchers in your rotation, right? Because he probably has 8 or 9 like quality major league starters ready to go next season. That's a ton. Like depth is great, but I think that's actually like surplus bordering on wasteful at this point. So, I mean, I think if I'm Boston, yeah, I'm looking to see what I can do to upgrade my roster right now, and they definitely could upgrade at second base.
Yeah, so I agree with you in that. I think if I were still like or to put power rankings here, I'd probably put Seattle at number 1. I think after the Arenado trade, originally I would have put him staying in St. Louis more likely than Boston. Now I'd probably put it maybe pretty equal, especially because the Rangers were just, to your point, really like even though they still had a lot of assets to move, I think you could have made the argument in that moment that, hey, like, do they really want to move one of their young pitchers? Like, they could probably use them still. Like, and also just value wise, is that the kind of move they want to make? Now I think it's more possible. I still think I put Seattle at the top of my list. I think San Francisco.
I think I'm San Francisco 1 actually right now.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, it just seems like Seattle is so reluctant to make big splashes. Like they'll make moves at the deadline, but it feels like every time Seattle's made a move, it's been kind of a low-hanging fruit move. Like, yeah, you picked up Eugenio Suarez at the deadline, and that worked really well for you. But I think what's the last big trade Seattle made? Is it like Jesse Winker?
I mean, they went.
Like
this was a deadline. Yeah, Luis Castillo was a huge move because they moved Noelvi Marte, and they moved another top guy in that deal too. So I don't.
Was Spencer Steer in that deal? But that was a while ago. That was their last crop of prospects, and notably, that wasn't pitching.
So like Seattle that might mean they're due though for their next one.
It could, but Seattle hates to move pitching.
Well, I mean, they do have Arroyo though. They've got
Lazaro. I know people like I don't know Lazaro, but I think if the Cardinals do this right, they need to acquire young pitching. They need an arm that's almost MLB ready or has a really high ceiling. And I just don't think Seattle's going to part with Sloan. And I think that's the arm that makes totally the most sense for the Cardinals in that system. And I think maybe the Giants are willing to move somebody. I don't know. Maybe the Giants cobble together some pitching. But I think I would love to see the Cardinals pick up pitching. And I think at this point, with Seattle's reluctance to trade pitchers, I mean, I don't even know if Seattle wants to trade Jurangelo Sinche. And I think that's like the starting point for the Cardinals on talks with Seattle. So if he's not on the move, I don't see how a deal possibly comes together. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they like the position player talent. Maybe the Cardinals feel like they've got enough pitching, which is totally possible. Because I think actually the pitching side might be stronger on the pitching side in terms of their minor league depth. But I don't know. I think I'm kind of snake bitten from the Cardinals pitching not working out for the last 5 years. So I'm like, have as much as you can. So I think
Yeah.
San Francisco might make more sense for me right now, but I can see the case for Seattle.
Yeah, and the Seattle side of things too, or I guess your point about wanting pitching, I do think ultimately they probably want like Sloan or any of these top arms as the potential headliner of
Yeah.
a Donovan deal. But at this point, I think they've done a good job this offseason acquiring pitching, and also you just look at the system right
Yeah.
now. And for the most part, like I can name a lot more pitching I'm excited about than I am on the position player front. It's like JJ Reinell, Josh Baez, the catchers,
But
and then it starts to get thin real quick.
would you agree though? There's more top end talent. Like there's definitely way more depth on the pitching side. I would give you that. But would you agree there's more top end talent on the position player side? Like outside of Doyle,
Yeah,
I don't really know who I look at right now, and I feel like that is a blue chip prospect. I
true,
mean,
but
I
I
want to
don't
say
think
that
it's
about
so
Jerky.
heavy on the position player side either. Like I think you're talking about two
Yeah,
true top end guys. Baez who's trending that way, but it's probably two,
and
probably not quite red. You
Bernal.
say that? Yeah, but I don't know if I put Bernal as like a blue chipper. I think that's probably more of like a really
Yeah,
solid. I mean, we'll see what happens this year, but I just don't think he's like blue chip is JJ Reinell is top 25
yeah.
prospect, best maybe top 50. Bernal's probably maybe depending on who you ask a top 100 guy. And
I
I'm
mean,
not
a
trying
lot
to
of
take
some
anything with
people
him.
aggressive like J Rod or aggressive Ray Rod truthers have him like top 25 now. Like I
Yeah,
think
so
he's a
that's why I'm
stud.
JJ and
Yeah,
Rodriguez, but I'm talking about Bernal. I would not throw in a blue chip category yet. Baez, I think, is
yeah. Baez is
positioning
trending
himself
that
for
way.
that, but it's
Yeah,
still like, I mean, would we be shocked in the world if one guy had one great prospect year where
yeah.
he kind of turned it around and
But
then it wasn't the same?
even like high upside. Like I think there are more high upside position players right now than pitchers. Like I just want to see them
Yeah,
acquire a guy with the true front of the rotation ceiling. And I think
yeah,
right now, like there might be other guys in the system, like a healthy Jerpy could be that. A Tink Hence that can pitch out of the fourth inning could be that. But those guys have huge limitations. Even Tekoa Roby, like if he could get healthy, maybe he's got the potential to be a 2 or a 3. But I think when I look at the system right now, it's only Doyle. And so
yeah. And
I'd love a Ryan Sloan. I'd be
I
so
agree. I
excited.
agree with that. I think it's more of like I think if you had like if you truly had whatever you could choose on the table, you could choose Ryan Sloan versus
Yeah,
a
but you
Royal
don't.
stuff.
That's
You
true.
would, but then at that point, if it's like okay, if you're not getting the Ryan Sloans, I would rather take the position player that I like more than the pitcher than just to take the pitching for the sake of taking pitching at this point. Even though because at this point, Donovan's your last big chip. And unless this rebuild takes longer than we think, he's probably going to be the best chip they move at any point. Like unless again we can't predict this, and that's like when I threw out Matthew Liberatore a few weeks ago, it wasn't like oh he for sure is gonna be that guy. It's just like an
Yeah,
idea of like who could be that next guy if this takes longer. But like that's the only way I could see them acquiring or another prospect in the same caliber of the Donovan deal is that if they end up moving Burleson at some point, if they end up moving Matthew Liberatore at some point, if he pops off, if they end up moving I don't even think Newt Bar. I mean, if Newt Bar has a great first half, maybe. But like at that point, I don't know where you get that. And so I can, in my head, I can't be picky about if it's a pitcher or a position player if that's all that's being offered to me, unless I'm willing to actually, which I don't know I know they're willing to take Donovan into the year, but I don't know how willing they are to actually like exercise the fact that they keep him long term. And so that's where it starts to get dicey, where I think you could hold to the deadline to see if you get that. But I think you hold to the deadline if you're not getting the proper value back for Donovan. I don't think you hold to the deadline because, wow, you got a really nice position player prospect that's being on the table, but I want a pitcher instead, so I'm going to wait. I would probably pull the trigger at that point on that top position player, no matter what the position is they play.
yeah, that's fair. Um, Here's a weird scenario that I just thought of. If the Cardinals are like terrible this year, like worse than you thought,
Well,
and
it's
they don't
possible.
make this, yeah, but and they don't make the strides you thought they'd make. So like say like Tekoa Roby gets hurt again, and now you're not confident that he's going to be a big league pitcher. Same for Cooper Jerpy. If he's trending the right way and then has a setback in like August, something like that, just a truly disastrous season. Do you trade Mason Wynn next offseason?
No.
You think you're still keeping him? What
I
if
think,
they?
I
I
mean,
don't think I would, but I think I'd like have to think about it more than I am right now.
it's hard to really envision it, but I think it would really truly have to be so bad that it's like, man, this is going to take like 5 more years. And I mean, also, I think you're probably talking about Mason Wynn's going to have an incredible year because I'm maximizing on his value. I'm not trading him before he pops. Um, I think the only way I see that scenario actually coming to fruition isn't if a bunch of the pitching prospects start getting hurt. I think it's if Ivan Herrera regresses or gets hurt. Like if
Yeah,
it's just like the major league team looks so bleak that it's like you don't have anything to build on right now at the major league level. But even then, I think you can still extend Mason Wynn and keep him for a long time. So I don't I don't really think you have to explore something like that for a long time unless unless we're talking 2028 and they're still bad.
If they're bad in 2028, it's not been fun.
So but there's also weird scenarios you just never know pop up, right? What if there's some like, I don't know, some incredible second or third baseman that they get in the top 13 of the draft, and they get another top pick, and I don't know, there's maybe a weird world where they can capitalize on a value of that, but I don't know. We're way speculating at this point now, but I am personally interested in seeing what will end up happening with this. I know we all are, right? This is the chip that we're all most interested in all offseason, and it's the one that will bring the most value back. And it's really, JoJo could get moved at this point still, but other than him, I think it's Donovan or bust. Like this, the Cardinals might mostly be done now, which again, breath of fresh air from last offseason where we're still banging our heads against the wall wondering Nolan Arenado's going to be traded and screaming Eric Fetty should be traded, and nothing happens. And then we do an emergency pod because they signed Phil Maton. We finally made a free agent signing during spring training. Like, what a difference a year makes.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's definitely more fun right now to be doing this than it is to be where we were last year.
Yeah, because honestly, too, like you think about it, they have way torn this down compared to the last few years. Like there is like none of us are going. I think most of us don't love the idea of following a team. We're like, can they win 88 games this year? Could they win 85? Could they sneak into the third wildcard team to get their heads beaten in the first round? Like no one loves watching that kind of. Or most people, unless you're building towards something, it's not fun. But in an offseason where they've truly like gotten rid of their best veteran players and have eaten money on deals and really gone prospect heavy. Like this has been a far more exciting offseason and optimistic offseason than the last 3, 4. Like,
yeah,
I'd say I think it's better in 2024 when they got Gray because it was Gray and then meh. And like 2023 going into that, I guess you got Wilson Contreras to replace Yachty, but like,
I thought 2023 was a good offseason because I didn't think Adam Wainwright was going to regress the way he did. So like, I was like re-signing Adam Wainwright, getting Wilson Contreras to replace Yadier Molina. You're basically keeping the whole team in place except for Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina, which looking back was a bigger deal than I thought it was.
Yeah. But even with that, like I feel like they left meat on the bone all those off seasons where I was like, man,
they totally
could have added another high-end starter. Oh man, they could have gotten that big bat. They could have blah blah blah. And this offseason, like they've basically done everything they could have asked for. And then the Donovan one, like we'll see what happens if they hold him. Some people will be really upset by that. I don't think either of us will be upset about that. And if they trade him for a haul, then honestly, it's just like, well, everything you possibly could have wanted Bloom to do this offseason is great. A Max Scherzer or Juan Soto.
It was like a bunch of off seasons in a row where it was like, is this the year they trade for like Jesus Luzardo or something, or like one of those other young arms from Miami or Arizona or something like that? And they never did. When do you think the next time we're talking about, because like it was multiple years in a row where we were wondering like, is this the time the Cardinals go all in? Is this when they make a move? When do you think is the next time that we're like even thinking about that? And when do you think is the year the Cardinals make a move like that? I know there's a lot of speculation, but I'm just having fun thinking about when we'll be good again.
I feel like not next offseason, but the offseason after that is the first one. I think it's realistic that they could end up being like more buying than like, I don't know how much of a seller they are next offseason because I don't know what pieces they'll have left to sell at that point. It might just be mostly holding tight.
They could go crazy at the deadline this year. Like there's a world where, especially if JoJo doesn't get traded this offseason, there's a world where the deadline is like JoJo, maybe Newt popped off, so you're trading Newt. Maybe they held Donnie and they're trading Donnie. Dustin May is gone. Like literally everybody, which would be fine with me.
I like what Kevin said here. Like I feel like it's what I was saying, that going into the 2028 season or mid-season 2028, which might be even more realistic because it's like, okay, they started the season off well. Do we add on to this team? And then that following off season of, okay, they built in like 2027, you hope they're promising. They're maybe not a playoff team yet, but you're like, you see the pieces. 2028, they push and they added the deadline. They don't maybe go crazy, but they add enough to supplement a young core of JJ and Doyle and Reinell and Yvonne and whoever's left, Mason Wynn, all that. And then the offseason after that, it's like, okay, you've got this exciting young Cardinals team that just pushed for the playoffs. Maybe scraped in, maybe they didn't. But then that offseason's when they maybe make their one big position player signing where they go out and sign Gunnar Henderson if he's a free agent, something like that. Now, that's probably not going to happen. But like,
Cardinals. Hear me out. The 2028 Cardinals leading the division trade number 1 prospect Emmanuel Luna to the Marlins for ace pitcher Thomas White. That's the prediction.
You never know. You never know.
That would be a lot of fun.
But I think I like how Bloom's addressed it in the press conferences when they've made these trades. Like the Arenado one, he said it's sobering that we're in a place that we're having to send all this money away. And it tells you the position we're in, and that we hope to get to a place soon where we're not doing this very often. And I like
Yeah,
also I like that he said very often that he acknowledged sometimes a smart move for a contender and a team that is adding is to trade away a veteran like this and to get prospects or to move salary, because sometimes the timeline isn't great. You know, you sell a year early rather than a year late on some of these guys sometimes, in order, especially if you're not LA or New York where you can just eat all the bad money every time. Like the Cardinals need to be willing to make some risk and sometimes have bad salary on the roster because they took the risk they need to take. But sometimes addition by subtraction. Sometimes you do need to cut bait
absolutely.
on some things in order to move forward. And then he's talked about in like the Red Sox type thing. I think they've alluded to it. Like, and what he did in Boston, built up with their farm system, has allowed Boston to be uber aggressive this offseason. Now, to be fair, Boston's now running like a 200 something $1 million payroll. And I don't know if the Cardinals are ever getting to that. I just don't know in under, let's see, they're projected right now $216 million payroll. I mean, I feel like that's the absolute ceiling I see the DeWitts getting to in the future. And that's like, man, they're like truly in the thick of contention. This is the
Yeah,
2 year World Series stretch type window. And even then I think that's aggressive because they've never touched the 200 opening day $1 million payroll mark before. And so they seem to be trending in that direction in the past few years, but then they ended up imploding. So if I think the point of why we like what the Cardinals are doing right now is that if they build a strong foundation, that you truly have young talent that's affordable, they can start like you talked about, like all these arms and like what Boston's done. If they can get to a place where they have like none of Boston's arms outside of Bello, kind of, and he's not even one of their top three guys right now. Obviously, they have Toyle and they have Early coming, who are like studs, but none of their opening day rotation right now of their the top end guys are legit like number one starters. They've been able to go out and sign or trade for those guys because they have the prospect farm system depth to do that, and they've developed the bats on the offensive side. If the Cardinals could do some kind of combination of that, where some of their lineup is homegrown, some of their rotations homegrown, then they can add out their Alex Bregman through free agency, and they can trade for the Garrett Crochet like the Red Sox have. But right now, they're just nowhere near that position. Like I've seen some people just, and it's a minority of people, totally critique them for rebuilding and
yeah,
slashing payroll and being like, like any team could change in one offseason. Like you could House of Cards it, where like sure you could go sign Pete Alonso and Ranger Suarez and a bunch of other random dudes and trade some of your farm system and see if like you stay healthy enough to be interesting, but that's not a sustainable model. And so I would
no,
much rather have them take their medicine right now, which they should have done years ago, but
yeah.
they're doing it now. That's the best time you could possibly do it, is take it now. If you didn't do it 10 years ago or whenever you need to start doing it, do it today to hopefully reap the benefits in the future. But there's no guarantee of success.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Man, it's gonna be it's a shame because it already feels like we've suffered through a rebuild, because we've been like bad and uninteresting for 3 years now. So it's like at this point, generally, you're like, all right, it's time to be good again. And that's why fans are losing patience, I'm sure. But we're actually just entering the rebuild. So, but that's what you get. That's what you get for waiting.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, wasn't the fans' fault they waited, really. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
DeWitt,
100% the owner's
Mosaic,
fault.
who knows what, I mean, it's kind of hard to say all these things because even last offseason, like as much as I want to, and we do critique Mo for not doing anything, we don't know behind the scenes what the DeWitts were willing to let him do. Maybe they were like, hey, like, we're not letting you trade these guys. I mean, because they apparently wanted to get a lot of money moved away. Like, I think they were willing to meet up to $15 million of Nato's deal for those 3 years last time around. They ate all but 11 million for the last
Yeah.
2 years. So like big difference here. And
Trading
they,
Arnado last offseason would have been so helpful. They would have
yeah.
gotten it would have been so much better.
But then if they had traded Gray and Contreras last offseason, my guess is they probably just try to move the contracts and they probably don't get returns for them. And so
Yeah.
that ended up playing into Bloom's favor. But the most, like, I don't know how, because it sounded like ownership was kind of trying to thread the needle if we're trying to get fans to come to the games. And so I don't think they were going to let him implode it this year. Now, and
Yeah.
also, too, now we got Heim Bloom making those decisions rather than Mo. And we've heard from Mo before that part of the reason they did this transition is Bloom wasn't ready to take over right away. Like, there's some personal things he need to take care of. And that's that. But I don't know. It's a weird position to be in. But again, we're looking at the future now, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on. So we'll talk a little more Donovan. We'll also talk about this win-loss projected win total by FanDuel because it's pretty sobering. And also, Sandy already touched on it a little bit, but an exciting international free agent class the Cardinals signed today. So we'll jump into a little bit of that as well. But as always, they're presented by 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles, located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet. They're open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. They have new selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local stars and players from around the league. Make sure you check them out. The Bowman Draft packs are now out and live, so you can go check out cards in their case related to that. You can go buy packs, buy boxes, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you check out 314 as we go along. So, Sandy, we can talk more about Donovan, but I do want to run this FanDuel total by you. So I saw it today. The Cardinals.
I saw it.
I did. I have been saying for a little bit now. I know we've kind of. I think we've mostly been in agreement about this. I think the Cardinals are finished 5th in NL Central this year. FanDuel agrees, and FanDuel put the Cardinals over under for 2025 at 71.5 wins. Sandy, you think that's fair? So is that a fair line? And are you smashing the over or the under here?
Well, I mean, it's funny because I feel like Andrew has been a little higher on them than me this offseason, which is so weird because generally it's me that's like the homer here. But yeah, I've had them around like 70 or less. I'm going to take the under. I think they're going to trade Donovan. I think they get worse. I think they're going to subtract pieces from the roster. I think they're going to they're going to sell at the deadline. And also I don't think like a rotation anchored by Dustin May. I don't think that rotation is going to be very good. I'm lower on Dustin May than most people are. I wasn't like, thrilled about the signing. So yeah, I'm going to take the under. I think the Cardinals are probably, if I was putting them somewhere right now, I'd be like 69.5, 68.5. Like I'm a couple of wins worse than this. So that's where I am.
Yeah, I feel like 71 is a fair line to me because 71.5, because I heard someone say this recently, and I really agree with it. I think most Major League Baseball teams are kind of within 6 to 8 wins at their projected total, higher or lower. Like, if all goes well, yeah, they could push 80 wins. But like that's like
totally
literally if all goes well, like if it's a great slam dunk season. If things go very poorly, they could lose over 100 games. Like that is possible.
You end up with the 2023 Cardinals where everyone picks you to win the division. People set your over under at like 89.5, 90.5 wins, and then you win like, I don't know, 71 games and you underperform by 20 games. Yeah. I don't think this team can underperform by 20 games because that takes you into worst team ever discussions. But I think they can underperform by 10. Like I really do think that there's a world where the Cardinals lose 100 games this year. First time ever.
And also part of this too, which we've kind of talked about but not really gotten into, the Cubs are better this year. The Brewers are the Brewers. The Reds haven't done a ton, but they're better than the Cardinals. They just made the playoffs. And the Pirates, I think, just got a lot better this offseason. And the Cardinals just got...
Yeah, I believe the Pirates when I see it, man. I always, I've learned that I just have to be skeptical of the Pirates. This is going to sound kind of mean, but they're like an incompetently run franchise most of the time.
That's true.
And I think they've made smart decisions. And the Pirates farm system is legit. And when Bubba Chandler comes up, he's going to be in the same rotation, hopefully, as like Jared Jones. And not hopefully for us, but as Jared Jones and Paul Skeens. And oh my gosh, there's more. There's already talent on that pitching staff, and they're going to be really good. Brian Reynolds is still there, but I'll believe it when I see it with the Pirates. Like every year they find a way to be ridiculous. So I'll believe it when I see it.
True.
And I hope they make their Chris Archer trade this deadline. I would love nothing more than to see something like that again, please.
Well, I agree with you on that. I don't think most off seasons we look at what they did though and say, wow, they made some interesting moves. And not every offseason do they have Connor Griffin coming up either. We're like, they did add Brandon Lau to this lineup. They did add Ryan O'Hearn to this lineup. Now, are we talking about superstars here? No. But like, this was a 71 win team last year that just added 2 bats to the lineup that they desperately needed, even though they're not superstars. And if Connor Griffin ends up being in this lineup and ends up being who people think he can be, like, that's insane. And you've got Paul Skeens, and again, health on that pitching rotation is always a big question mark. But Mitch Keller, Braxton Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler, Cameron Mildolaski, you've got Jared Jones, you've got, who's the other? I'm missing another name that could potentially be coming up for them this year from an arm standpoint. I mean, they just got bodies. And so at the very least, I think they're better than the 71 win team. I think the Cardinals were a 78 win team last year, 79, and now they're more like a low 70s win team. I think they at least flipped that.
Yeah. I think if I had to guess right now, they're going to finish in front of us, but also like the Pirates and Pirates. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And I mean, like you look at the Reds and it's like, I've been a pretty anti-Reds person for a long time and I'm still not like beating
I'm still
the
not
Reds.
sold on this Reds team.
But at the same time, I mean, they did get a pretty mediocre by what I think we all think Ellie De La Cruz can do. Ellie De La Cruz season, they did acquire Brian Hayes at the deadline, and I think he can be better than he's been for
Brian
Matt.
Hayes is bad.
I still think he can be better than the 65 WRC plus. Matt McClain was a 77 WRC plus guy. I feel like he had a terrible year for his standards. Spencer Steer was sub 100. Novelli Marte was barely over 100. I mean, like, I just feel like they had a ton of other offensive guys just not produce, and they're in a hitter friendly ballpark. I just feel like they have the guys. You got year two of Chase Burns, Nicola Dolo, Hunter
should be a lot better. Yeah.
So I'm not like
Andrew Abbott, but I don't think Andrew Abbott does what he did last year. But Chase Burns, yeah, that's a big guy. So
yeah, and again, I'm not like, I mean, I feel like the way national media talk about the Reds every year is you get to this time of year, like the Reds, they could be like
they're always
one of the best teams in the NL. And I'm like, I'm not there. I'm just saying in the context of the NL Central, they are better than the Cardinals. And I mean, I'm talking about like part of the reason the Cardinals have, even in some years, been able to kind of gloss over the fact that they had issues is they got to beat up on the Reds and the Pirates. And at times the Brewers, at times the Cubs. I think all four of those teams look at the Cardinals as a team they can beat up on.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean,
and then the NL in general is like, I mean, you got the Padres, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, and
the Cardinals can't beat the Rockies, so
yeah, the Cardinals can't beat the Rockies, and I'm missing another NL West team. Giants, and then you look at the American League East, and it's like the Marlins could be pretty decent, and
the Nationals,
the Phillies, the Nationals could be fun. The Braves are going to bounce back. You got the Phillies, the Mets.
Cardinals entering this year are probably the second worst team in the National League.
There's a strong argument for it. Like the Rockies, I'd say the worst, and then it's like, is it the Cardinals? Is it the Marlins?
And I think the Marlins are maybe more interesting than the Cardinals this year, with more impact talent ready to start outside of JJ Weatherholt day one.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, some of the fact that there's interleague play right now probably actually saves the Cardinals, because I look like the American League, I see a lot more beatable teams over there.
Yeah,
National League wise though, pretty tough. So
that's interesting. What do you think about the Cubs this year? Like, I think they're the favorite, but I think also the Cubs had some crazy over performances last year. Like, get this. Last year with the Cubs, Carson Kelly, in only 111 games, put up 3.6 B-WAR, 119 OPS plus, okay? In, 8 seasons before that? Like 2016 to 2024, in 556 games, 4.1 wins, 86 OPS plus. Like, he's never been that guy before, and he was on fire for most of last season. Like, do you think he does that again? I know Michael Busch has long been a guy that people are high on as a hitter, but Michael Busch was legitimately producing at an MVP level for part of last year. So was Seiya Suzuki. Pete Crow Armstrong was the favorite for NL MVP at one point during the first half, and we saw what he turned into in the second half. Like, is he that guy? Nico Horner caught fire in the second half and nearly won the batting title. Do you think all these? I think up and down the Cubs roster, they overperformed last year. And I'm not saying they're not the best team in the Central entering the year. They're probably the divisional favorite unless the Brewers get hot again. Brewers are the Cubs' big brother. I hope they get it done for us because I hate the Cubs. But I don't know if the Cubs enjoyed the same overperformances all year. On the flip side, their pitching should be healthier. You'll have Cade Horton all year. You'll have Justin Steele healthy again. I don't think Ben Brown is as bad as he was.
No.
But what do you think about the Cubs? I think it's an interesting thing because there's no way the stars align the way they did for this offense last year.
True. I mean, they did, but I mean, also at the same time, you did get a crash from Peter Crow Armstrong in the second half. Carson Kelly came back down to earth. He was more of he ended up finishing 115 WRC plus guy when he was way higher than that most of the year. Ian Happ was a 116 and had a terrible year for a lot of the year. You're getting Bregman into the lineup when you had Kyle Tucker fall off in the second half last year. So
yeah, but you don't have Kyle
Bregman. But now you've got Alex Bregman's back.
Better than he's ever been. Like a 15-point jump from what he'd ever been before. That's crazy.
I obviously Bregman's not Kyle Tucker, but I do think you're talking about Kyle Tucker that in the second half fell off big time, and so now you've got hope maybe a consistent Bregman in there. You're talking about Matt Shaw coming off the bench for this team now. I mean the rotations where I'm really whoa, the Cubs have really figured this part out. Where you're talking about a 5-man group right now without still even being back of Boyd, Cabrera, Horton, Imanaga, and Tyone. Who's the 5? Imanaga?
Do you think Boyd repeats the season he just had? The Cubs last year, I think they had bad luck with the Steele injury, and Cubs fans have pointed this out to me. I think they had bad luck with Steele. I think they had bad luck with Shaw's slow start. I think they had bad luck with Tucker kind of being hurt a little bit in the second half, banged up, and they had bad luck with Ben Brown. But other than that, I think the Cubs had way more good luck than bad luck last year. I don't think they get the same level. I think so much of this is going to come back down to earth. At least I'm hopeful.
I mean, I'm hopeful for two. I would say I'm probably more.
I would
I'm
love
not
it.
as aggressive as you are with. I think I wouldn't say up to everything. Like I wouldn't say most things went right for them last year. I think a lot of things did, but I also think you could argue again. It's like PCA went from
Shaw should have been
clear
better
cut
last
MVP
year.
candidate to like basically nothing in the second half. That
Oh, it
mattered.
was
Like
wonderful. It
you're
was
talking
so
about
amazing.
Ballesteros, like I mean, they're adding that to this lineup now. Like this guy could be a thumper, like big time. You're
I hope
talking
so.
about Ian Happ, who ended up being better at the end of the year, but it was like Cubs fans wanted him gone big time for a lot of the year. Dansby Swanson, again, I'm low on in general, but was like it was pretty average for his resume. I mean, you're talking about Bush put up a 140 WRC plus. Can you repeat that? Who knows? Um, Again, getting Steele back would be huge. Their bullpen for a lot of the year was garbage at times where they couldn't close a
I
game.
know,
I feel
but
like
then it
that's
was like the best bullpen in the league for two
yeah, but
months.
for 2 months. But you're talking about the first 3 or 4 months where it was not
They
that,
were
and so
horrendous. That's true.
so I do think that they could probably argue so many games that they should have closed out with a competent bullpen, not even like an elite one, but just like an average one. So I think I'm thinking this Cubs team will be pretty good this year. I think they're
I think
personally
they'll be good too.
I just don't want to bet against the Brewers anymore, but I think I'll probably put the
Yeah,
Cubs as the favorite of the division. But I think Brewers, I mean, 1, 2, either order. Reds are the clear three to me. I think the Pirates could vault over the Reds though, and I think they could even. I don't think they can get to the 2 spot, but I think they could be a strong 3 in this division. And then I think the Cardinals
I
are a
agree.
distant 5. And I think yes,
Yeah,
top percentile outcomes they can finish fourth or third in the division, but I can see no shot at first or second.
I agree with that. Yeah, there's really not a scenario where the Cardinals finish ahead of the Brewers or the Cubs.
Look at this, Samuel. Imagine if JJ wins Roy, Baez comes in second, Quinn wins the Cy Young. Which if Quinn got the Cy Young, he would come in first or second, and then they win 100
Not
games.
if JJ wins the MVP.
That's true, yeah. And then
Yeah.
Jordan Walker, comeback player of the year.
Ooh, but
But
I would think Quinn would have to come in second at least in Rookie of the Year in that scenario. Not to pick that apart.
I do think it'd be interesting. I'm curious to see what the like early August through end of September Cardinals look like and what their record is versus like April through July, where do they end up being one of those young teams that plays well down the stretch because again some of their guys have developed, they're giving more opportunities to some other guys. I feel like you start to see that sometimes from some of these young teams. They start to turn the corner a little bit. But even then, I still think 2026 is more of a down year where they're probably picking top 6 in the MLB draft at this point, and we'll see what happens. Also, got to acknowledge the Kareem here. The Bears are going to beat the Rams on Sunday. Sorry, LA can't play in sub 10-degree weather, so we're going to see about that one. Um,
I just hope
but
the Cardinals are fun this year. Like all I really want is for JJ to immediately be awesome and
yeah,
for Bias to come up in the second half and just like go on a power binge. Like, could you imagine if Bias had like the Trevor Story start to his career where it's like home runs in his first 5 games and he's just like immediately electric? That's what I want to see. I just want the Cardinal, like, I just want to enter 2026 or 2027 feeling like, yeah, we have a star. And maybe it's Ivan Herrera. Maybe Ivan Herrera like pops off this year and finishes top 10 MVP voting. Like all I want is a clear all-star and a clear star heading into next year. Let me have someone to dream about. Let me have a jersey that's like cool to have and fun to wear.
yeah. We're way late going to this comment, but I remember earlier in the chat, I can't remember who said it. Someone was talking about like how critical is Victor Scott to the Cardinals' future and like how many years does he get? And I feel like that. So we'll get talked about Victor Scott in a second, but I feel like there's two kinds of tier. I feel like this year's not about the wins and losses. It's not about the record. It's about establishing, like you said, who are the guys you build around, and who are potential supplemental pieces for the future. I think the like the guys you want to solidify themselves or like take the next step in that category is like you want Yvonne and Mason on the position player side to set themselves as like their true building blocks in this team. Burleson could maybe establish himself in there. I think he's like in that mix right now, but he's not quite established in that mix. And then obviously JJ Weatherholt, can he establish himself as like an up and coming guy you build around? I'm not even gonna say like all-star star, but like clearly like
I
you
just
wite
want a
his name in
star.
pen.
I want one
I mean,
stud.
I
It's
do
been so
too.
long.
And then from those other guys like VS2, Walker, Gorm, Newt, yeah, I mean that's on the position player side. And then the pitching side, there's a ton of starters who fit this category. Who are guys that you can see being on this roster over the next 2 or 3 years, playing various roles? Where like Victor Scott, barring a huge, like I shouldn't say huge here, barring like multiple steps forward, I don't think he's a guy that you're writing in pen for 2 years from now. I think he's a guy that you're
Victor
writing in
Scott,
pencil
yeah.
who's probably your center fielder, but he's not done in. I mean, I love the speed, I love the defense. I think he's awesome, and I really do think, man, get that bat just tick better, a couple ticks better. You're not quite like a Penn yet, but you are a guy that you're probably not going to replace because you just provide so much value. Sajasi is another name in that mix. Is he a guy that has any future here, or is he a guy that's like, yeah, sure, he's on the roster, but like there's no guarantee he's on the roster going forward? I think that's what 2026 is about, is kind of like establishing who is the core and who are the guys that you're like, they're not core, but we like them, we'll build with them as long as we don't have a better option. And then who are the guys that's like, does Walker end up being cut bait with at that point? Is Gorham cut bait with at that point? Is Newt gone? Probably. Like,
yeah. I mean, this is actually a really fun comp. Look at like Kevin Kiermaier's career. Okay. In the years where like he had years where he produced like Victor Scott did this year. Okay. He had like a 79 OPS plus. Victor Scott was down at 72, but that year he put up 2.3 wins in 130 games. That's about what Victor Scott gave you this year, right? Victor Scott is on that level defensively, but in years where his offense was significantly better, like in 2015, he put up a 99 OPS plus. He's almost a 7-win player. Like that's the value. If Victor Scott could get to league average like that, in other years where Kevin Kiermaier had a solid bat, like, you know, out of nowhere in 100 games in 2017, he put up a 113, probably the best offensive year of his career, except for his rookie season. And he was a 5-win player in 98 games. Like that's the kind of value Victor Scott could accrue for you if the bat could just get to league average. So, I mean, yeah, I would love to see Victor Scott even just get to like a 90 OPS plus, WRC plus type. At that point, that's a guy that I'd be writing in pen. And I'd be like, yeah, that's my guy, because he's probably a 4.5 to 5-win player at that point. That is like a super.
I don't know if he could be a 5-win player with 90 WRC plus.
I mean, Kevin Kiermaier did it.
I mean, the glove is going to have to continue. I think he's going to have to get even a little bit better, even though it's already elite, and he's going to steal a lot of bases.
So good. Yeah, but I think he can steal that many bases. I think the thing is, if Victor Scott had a 90 WRC plus, he's on base so much more than he is right now.
I mean, you're talking about he was a sub-2 WAR player right now, and you're talking about a 14 WRC plus jump. I don't know if that's 4 WAR or 3.5.
Oh, I've got him at. I'm on B WAR, not F WAR.
Oh, I was okay. I'm F WAR in it,
and but B WAR likes outfield defense more than F WAR does.
So, anyways, I mean, yeah, I do agree with you. He could be a very valuable player. That bat just even comes up close to league average, or close to or at league average. And again, like you said, if he gets on base more, he steals more bases. Part of the reason he doesn't steal bases right now is he's just not on base enough. Yeah. Like even that WRC plus, it's like I'd actually kill for. I don't even care if that WRC plus is super high. It's like I need that OBP to be higher than 305 and that average to be higher than 216. Like the power is whatever. Like I take whatever I can get from it, but can he get on base and can he make a single, a double?
He gave us 17 outs above average with the fastest sprint speed in all of baseball. And it's like, if you could just get on base a little more, because Victor Scott's the type of guy that, like, if they turned him loose and he got on base, he could steal 60 bases in a year without a second thought. And that'd be a lot of fun. Like, I wish the Cardinals, I hope they commit to that actually this year.
Well, I was about to say
bases and make it a priority.
They might as well at this point, because I mean they're not gonna hinder the team where they're like, all right, we're gonna let Vic steal here just because whatever, and it's like it kills an inning every time. But like he's so fast, it shouldn't be like that. But I would totally see them like, what do they have to lose? Like it's really like you're trying to win games and play team baseball, but also like see what your guys can do. So yeah, let Vic go loose and try to steal as many bases as you can. So
yeah, I mean, last year he stole 34 bags, and I think there's every chance. Like he 34-4 stealing to caught stealing ratio. That's almost 90%.
Yeah,
it's pretty darn good. I think there's every chance that given the opportunity, he could steal at a huge volume. Yeah, I'd honestly be sending him every time he's on.
I've got
some fun.
Yes, I've got two quick subtopics that we can hit real quick before we get our way out. And one of them comes from Skyboy. He's a member. We had a bunch of people join as members last stream, and so if you want to do that, you can just hit the join after you subscribe. Helps channel a ton. You get access to our private Discords. I think we had like 7 people become members last time. It was super fun. So I'd love for you to do that. When just Skyboys in a second. But also, speaking of, like and subscribe, helps channel a ton. Like this video, comment down below, comment in the stream. Helps. We just want to know what you're thinking. Also, there is, we don't talk about it very often, but that notification bell if you want to be notified of when we go live, because we do fun like live stream giveaways at times. You have to be here live to do it. So you'll be here for those, which we'll have one for the next recording. So I'll have some packs to rip at that point. Or videos like our birds on the farm, or even just if you have to catch live stream late. So consider becoming a member for just as little as $1 a month, and you can go up higher tiers, join your Discord, all that kind of stuff, and then liking the stream, sharing, commenting, all that kind of stuff. But Skyboy brings up an interesting point. Let's hit this real quick, and then we'll do the quick overview of the international signing, and then call it a day for this episode, because we can talk some more about this stuff later, or if we have to do a surprise reaction live stream at some point, maybe we'll have to for a trade. But I think this is interesting, the idea of extending. So Skyboy said extend extend Ivan Herrera before he gets a position. I think that's kind of interesting, because it's hard to know what would he sign for right now, what does he want. But there's probably an argument to say, hey, a guy who's not proven himself as a catcher and is mostly just like you see it, like really at this point, he's proven to be a DH at this point. If you get him on that deal, or if you value him as a DH, but then he ends up being able to catch or play outfield, like you potentially get some wiggle room here and financially.
Yeah, I love it. I think I've been banging the drum for the Cardinals to extend any of these guys. It'd just be nice to like have some continuity as a fan. When you think about who's going to be on the field this year, who's going to be the longest tenured Cardinal if they trade Donovan? Contreras is gone. Mance is gone. Like those guys were on the 2023. Okay, Newbar. Was he on the 2022 club? He came up in
he was on the 2021 club.
Maybe. Yeah. So that's your veteran. That's your like elder statesman right now. And that's a guy who like hasn't played a full role in a lot of seasons with Arenado gone. And, I mean, he's been around. I guess he's now a veteran. But yeah, without Newbar, like and we don't even know how involved Newbar is going to be this year. Hopefully the recovery goes well and he's, an opening day starter, but it's definitely interesting. It'd be just nice to, as a fan, feel like, yeah, this guy's locked up. Like this guy's going to be a Cardinal through his ARB years and into his free agent years. So I'd love to see a Herrera extension.
I've seen some in the chat about like, hey, wait a little bit, like Zach Tack, wait for another year of Ivan Herrera production to do it. I think if you wait another year, that's when this extension really becomes a lot more lucrative. And I think technically there's less risk waiting, because then you get another sample size. But actually, I think he's in that weird spot where he's proven enough to you that I think you can make that risk, and it's really not as big of a risk. But he hasn't necessarily put it up sustained enough to get the huge deal that maybe he could get next offseason, because you look, he has now a career 777 plate appearances, which is like a full-time year plus a little bit more, or like, I don't know, like two years of almost 2 years of a part-time guy, of like a not every day, but not everyday guy, if that makes sense, where it's like plays a lot, but not all the time. So 777 plate appearances, a 129 WRC plus, like top bat right there. I'll even try to find real quick between since 2022 guys with 777 plate appearances. I'm sure he ranks in like the top 30 of all bats in WRC plus at this point. Like when he's on the field, he hits, and he hit a little bit of a lull this past year where you're starting to think, oh man, like is the sample size starting to catch up to him? And then he caught fire again and was fine. Like, so I personally think he's proven you enough at this point it's a risky signing, because anytime you sign a guy this early, it's a risk, but that's why you get them at such a deal, because no one's going to sign that kind of contract. He's 26th in all of baseball in WRC plus since 2022 of guys that have 777 plate appearances more. That's tied with his WRC plus in that stretch is tied with Bobby Witt Jr. and Julio Rodriguez. It's just behind Cal Riley and Pete Alonso. Like
think about like the other teams that make these deals. Like if you think about the Braves, okay, for every Ronald Acuna Jr., which is an absolute slam dunk deal, saved them a ton of money and locked up a generational talent. You get a Michael Harris, where you thought this guy was going to take off, and he actually got worse, and now you're like,
they did after half a year.
Though. Yeah, super early, super aggressive. But Michael Harris is still probably being paid like somewhat near market value. It's a bad contract, but it's not like an albatross, because they locked him up young enough and were aggressive enough that they actually hedged a little bit. And you've got those guys, but you've also got like Ozzie Albies. That extension was great for the Braves. Austin Riley, that's an extension that like he wasn't great this last season, but Austin Riley is like one of the better third basemen in baseball. The Sean Murphy extension is another one. Like that deal looked great, and it's still been fine. Sean Murphy's been like very solid for Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the model. I've been saying, like, we've compared the Cardinals to the Braves, or said the Cardinals should operate like the Braves a million times. And maybe they'll never learn their lesson and figure it out. But it'd be really nice.
Yeah, for sure. Andrew's telling me to open a pack. Andrew, I don't have a pack yet. Waiting for 314, so we'll do it next time. But if you can smash that like button, we really appreciate it.
Josh will open an extra pack next time, actually, because of this video.
If we get to 50 likes, I'll open 2 packs next time for the price of 150 likes. So there you go. But again, with that, like, It's just availability on defense at this point that you're looking at. And I think he's proven enough to you to show that bat's legit. And yes, there's risk because there always is risk at this point. But I think that's also part of the way the Cardinals are going to be able to sustain keeping their guys long term is if they're not going to be able to do this with every guy, nor should they. I mean, you could, but they're probably not going to give early extensions to every guy. But you got to nail some of those if you're going to keep guys long term. And the three, I really like Burleson, maybe, but like the three guys right now I have circled because there's not a starting pitcher right now, unless Liam Doyle in like 1 or 2 years looks like that guy. But there's only three guys in this organization right now that I would be considering it with. And I don't think that list changes for another 1 or 2 years at least. And it's Yvonne, it's Wynn, and it's JJ. And I don't think it's crazy. And also, if you're moving so much money out externally right now in these deals, you're not like I would much rather instead of trying to add another reliever or add another starter, is go ahead and front load some money onto Yvonne Herrera's deal and an extension. I'd rather do that. And you get some cost certainty because in 2029, you already know what you're paying Yvonne Herrera or Mason Wynn.
What if you could give Yvonne Herrera like $40 million next year and then immediately drop it to like 18 a year? I mean, that'd be so awesome.
That would be.
They would never do it, but it'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Do you think Yvonne Herrera would do something like that?
I mean, more money today is worth more than tomorrow, so I think you probably
I would
do that.
love it. I would love that move.
And then I guess here's the maybe where we put a bow in this one, and I'm sure we'll both talk about this for a while. But this comes from Andrew Hoffman. Does it make more sense to sign like if you had to choose one? They're like, hey, we can give one extension right now. It's Yvonne Herrera or Wynn, or I'll throw JJ in there. Do you do the Corbin Carroll type extension?
Yeah, I think
like where you sign them before he even hits. I watched Corbin Carroll played. So
Jackson Trio.
Jackson Trio type extension. Do you do Yvonne Herrera where it's maybe I don't know if it's Tyler Soderstrom like, but it's more of like I don't know. I guess for Wynn and Herrera it's like a Braves type extension. Do you do one of those or do you do JJ? Actually, I think I might say JJ.
I think I'm saying JJ. I think JJ has the highest. Well, I don't know, man, because Yvonne Herrera like. If that dude caught, I don't know, if he could catch like 99 to 100 games and then DH 50 games and like hit the way we know he can hit, like the ceiling is MVP votes, MVP candidate maybe. So like if it all came together for Yvonne Herrera when he entered his like prime, that's a guy that could thump like 35 homers and I don't know, hit like 290 with 100 RBIs in the middle of a good offense. He could be like insane. So maybe it's Herrera. Maybe he's like the cornerstone that you need because he's the only bat in the like the only bat in its current form in the organization that can give that to you. But
yeah, I think
it'd be nice to get JJ. I think it'd be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, oh yeah, it'd definitely be. You would think it'd be the cheapest of all three of them. I think Mace Windu kind of hits a part of it. Yvonne is like the guy you can bank on offensively. Wynn's the guy you can bank on defensively. I think JJ's the guy you bank on potentially as both, where it's like he's not quite Yvonne Herrera offensively. I mean, that's not even a diss on him at all. So Yvonne Herrera's been awesome. So he's a really good offensive player, better than Mason Wynn. He's not the defender Mason Wynn is, but he plays premium defensive positions and plays them well. And so I think he's the most all-around potential player there. But I think you could make an argument for all three ceiling-wise, though, because if
I could have both or Herrera, I'm taking both.
Oh, yeah. If it's Wynn and JJ or Herrera, I'm taking Wynn and JJ. But, like, you can make the argument for Wynn because he's already been a 3.5 win player every year with not a lot of offensive production. Like, last year, he was above league average, but the glove was not the same as it was this year. This year, the glove was, like, insane, but the bat fell off. If his glove stays, which I think his glove is safe to stay, and the bat starts to progress, like, that's a 5 win player right there. Like, that's awesome. He just gets his value differently than the flashy guys. JJ, like again, we know that
if you woke up tomorrow and the Cardinals announced they'd signed all three to an extension, would you be happy or unhappy?
I would be like, am I dreaming right now? Like,
sure, but like,
there's no
like
way.
What
I'd be happy.
They sign all three, and it's like with Herrera, it's a lot of money. With JJ, it's like a large figure, but split over 10 years or something like that. We're like, well, we are committed to this guy, so he better be good. And with Wynn, it's something similar to that. Like, I would love to see them just do all of it. I hope the car, like, I'm so tired of them refusing to play smart baseball. I would love to see them sign some extensions. We talk about it all the time, but I don't know. Do you think over under 0.5 in this group actually sign an extension with the Cardinals?
I'll say over. I said one of them signs.
It's got to happen at least once, right? Like, please.
Now here, I get what some people are saying, like, wait, why now? You can. The point of not waiting though is that the longer you wait, the more, and if the longer they wait and they prove they're worth it, the more expensive they become. So that's why you do it now, and you do it now if you have confidence that they're going to go be better moving forward. I mean, JJ's obviously the most
This has a
aggressive of
wrinkle
it.
to it.
But yeah, but even with the new CBA though, like if you're talking about them potentially having less service time, that's even more of an argument to get it done now, because it's
Yeah.
like if you go into next offseason and they cut your service time, you're talking about JJ now has 5 or less years of service time remaining. Yvonne's got like 3 years remaining, and Wynn's got 3 years remaining. That's like harder. That's a harder extension to get done than 4 years. So if you're thinking, if you have any, I don't know how likely that is, but if you're like, hey, they might get less service time, that's even more of an argument to do the deal now.
Yeah. Also, there's no way they have less service time after the CBA, right? I know players want to reach free agency faster, but they probably would cut an ARB year and you'd
Yeah.
make less money for a lot of guys. Maybe your risk of getting non-tendered drops. But the other thing is that favors the big market teams, which is I feel like the point of the CBA is to address the unfair advantage that big market teams have.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested. Our Google, I think, brought it up on our live stream with our charity stream with him. Like maybe there's a way to incentivize when, I don't know if he brought it up on that or maybe it was a different episode. I think it was him or Wheeler brought it up, like on their best podcast in baseball. But like, what if you incentivize a team when they give a $200 million extension or $300 million extension in like certain revenue sharing, where it's like, oh, if the Pirates sign Skeens to a big extension, they get draft pick compensation. Like you get
Yeah.
pick compensation for losing a guy, but what if you incentivize them actually retaining the guys? Like that could be a way to start helping with some of that. But you're right. I think you cut your service time helps the players, but also technically helps the big market teams. Real quick on John here. I mean, I think you probably agree with this. There's not a
None.
single young pitcher at extend right now.
If you had to sign one pitcher to like an actual legitimate extension, is it Liam Doyle and why? It's got to be.
I mean, I don't even know if I'd say that because he can get hurt, and it's just like
But
it
you
doesn't
have
work.
if you have to pick one,
Well, I
it's
think
not Libby. Libby's expensive and low ceiling.
I don't. It's so hard to know what the numbers are. I mean, there's an argument to make it Libby or McGreevy or someone like that, not because I think they're the best guy, but like whatever their market value is. Like I might
It
feel
hurts you the
safer.
least. I think Libby has like real market value right now.
Thanks for the super chat from Snipes. Says he's more excited
Not
for this
because
season than 24 and 25. Agreed.
I get that. I get that. I think Libby has real value, not because he's good, but because pitching is so expensive.
True,
You know
and
what I
that's part of
mean?
the reason. Well, that's part of the argument that you hope you potentially extend a guy early. But I think part of the reason the Cardinals are accumulating all this young pitching right now is because pitching is so expensive that
And they
extending
paid
it's really hard.
price for it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Garrett Crochet, it's like the Red Sox traded a haul for him and then gave him a huge extension.
And it's
Like
all worth it.
yeah, and so like if Liam Doyle becomes their Garrett Crochet, you extend him as early as you can so you can keep him for not $45 million in AAV when he hits free agency. Which actually, I think even on that extension, Garrett Crochet is insane money later on. So like you're really, I mean, you're saving some money, but you're mostly just making sure he doesn't leave. You're talking about Garrett Crochet makes 20. Okay, he makes 28, 24 and 28, but he makes it before he's 5 years of service time now, so he started making that. He's $28 million AAV when he only had 4 years of service time. I mean, that's a pretty hefty contract to give out.
It's a lot of money.
Slash, then you don't have to sign a free agent starter where you're giving up a first round pick or sorry, you're giving up a second round pick plus $40 million a year, $35 million a year to sign a starter. Like you just want to accumulate all these young arms. But then to your point, they don't really have a lot of high upside guys right now, outside of Doyle. So it's like you gotta get some more of those high upside guys if you're gonna build your rotation internally.
Yeah.
But then also if you get some cost certainty on some of these guys like Herrera, Wynn, and JJ, are not paying the market value when they hit free agency, it helps you make those signings later.
It'd be really nice. And also it feels like the Cardinals have operated year to year, like each of the last 4 years. It's like all free agent additions are 1 year, except for Contreras. Like that's the outlier here, but free agent additions are all 1 year. Extensions have all been like 1 or 2 years, like the Michaelis extension or like re-signing Adam Wainwright entering the 2023 season. And they've been operating on these 1 year timetables. It'd be so nice to have an extension in place, have future money on the books, know what things look like, and be able to plan for the future. Because I think that's actually hamstrung the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Not having like a true plan in place means they're always scrambling. They always feel like they're not fully committed to something, so they can go have halvesies. And they've been allowed to do that for however long. Like every acquisition at the deadline is, a rental. I know Jordan Montgomery wasn't, but like Quintana was a rental. Lester and like LeBlanc and Hap were all rentals, like weak rentals. You know what I mean? It's like I would love to just have an idea of what the team's going to look like because they've had so much turnover pretty much every year.
Yeah. There's also, and maybe we can quickly hit on the international free agent signings. Then I think these topics are something we'll talk about for
we
a
should
while.
read
But
through some of these. These
but I
guys
do
are
think
studs.
like there's a like Mason Wendy put in here. I think you're correct. Like extensions are rare in baseball. How often they happen? I think it's across the board. It's hard to say, but like there are teams like Boston who have signed Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, and Rafaela to long-term extensions plus Garrett Crochet. Or you could look at Atlanta, like we talk about all the time. Atlanta's done that. So like it
Houston
just takes
did it at one point too.
Yeah, it takes organizational philosophy there. And so and also you look at Boston, part of it, I mean, they are bigger markets, same with Atlanta, but they did Roman Anthony early, they did Christian Campbell before he made a debut. Like, so if you be aggressive on the front end, again, you can save money in the back end. So
I have a good feeling Milwaukee does the same thing that they did with Churio with Jesus Mate. You know, it wouldn't shock me if they tried to work something out very quickly with Mizurowski. Yeah. Like that wouldn't be a surprise. If they announced tomorrow that they'd extended Mizurowski, I wouldn't be shocked.
But then last thing though, like to be fair, how many of us are saying extend Walker and Gorman before?
So yeah, absolutely.
That's the risk.
That's the risk. You have to go in at some point.
Yep.
You know?
So
you have to do it. But
okay,
so I mean, we should talk about this international class.
Yeah, so we can briefly talk about it. I'm sure you guys will talk about more on Birds on the Farm this weekend. But you're talking about like Cardinals international class. You can highlight any other names I miss here, but their top ranked guy was the 10th ranked in the whole class by Baseball America, Emmanuel Una. Outfielder turned 17 today, so happy birthday, Emmanuel. Huge plus raw power. Potentially a 30-plus home run hitter in his prime. If again, we're talking about a guy that's this far away, 17-year-old. We are like way projecting. Like Luna could definitely never make it past low A. That is very possible. But he's like Baseball America's talked about. If you're talking ranking power in this class, he might have the best power of any guy in this class right now. So it's a big time right-handed bat. You're talking about here, 17 years old. The other big one was a late signing into the class, flipped from the Padres, Carlos Carrion. Again, he was linked to the Padres for so long. Seen as one of the best athletes in this entire class. Elite runner, potentially has room to grow offensively from a power standpoint. And they got a bunch of other guys as well. So any quick thoughts about that? I mean, it seems like a strong class. Also, real quick, I want to highlight, thanks from our new member from last stream, Tefelu Hundin. I'm gonna need you to tell me how to pronounce it in our Discord. How'd you say it?
I think Hundin was my guess.
I think you're. I don't know. That sounds way better than I said. So let us know in the Discord so I don't butcher it because I'm the worst with names. But he said, I look for JJ and Wynn to steal the spotlight a high percentage of the time when baseball is mentioned this year. I think he's probably right. I do think we're talking a lot about JJ and Mason Wynn this year, which would be super fun. But yeah, tell me about your thoughts on this class so far.
Man, it's probably like the most high upside international class the Cardinals have inked in a minute. And we've seen some really exciting international prospects, whether you're talking about Ryan Rodriguez popping off last year, Sebastian Dos Santos was in last year's class.
A couple of years ago.
Studs. Yeah, a couple of studs have come out of that for the Cardinals, which is great because for a long time, the Cardinals did not show an ability to develop via the international signing system, and they weren't really interested in doing it. It felt like something that got pushed kind of to the back burner with the Cardinals. So this is great. Emmanuel Luna, like consensus top 10 prospect in the class. This guy's awesome. I think I've seen like Aaron Judge comps. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt. Like this kid's 17 years old. But these kind of exit velos at 17, like that should get you gassed up. You said Carlos Carrion. Like that's probably the second most exciting name. There's a few other names. If you're looking for more information, Redbird Farmhands on Twitter had some great coverage of this stuff. And I'm just going to read a little bit off of his thread, but go check him out. He always has great prospect coverage. And we've partnered with him on Birds on the Farm before. Really great guy. But he highlighted Luis Angel Estrella, who is another 17-year-old, like power hitting, high upside bat, $300 bonus, which is big money in this. It's not, the millions that Luna got, but still big money. Emilio Jimenez, this guy, like huge frame in the picture that he showed. He estimates that he's 6'5". So that's pretty awesome. He's a lefty.
Speaking of Luna, did you hear the sounds off his bat in the video?
Unbelievable.
It's like
unbelievable,
crazy. 110 miles per hour off the bat at 16.
That's the type of like international prospect that immediately gets coverage and like shoots up prospect lists when he dominates the Dominican League. You know what I mean? And that's the type of guy who's making like a low A debut at 18 or 19 years old. And you're like, oh, wow, that is a bat that could really help you out at some point in the future. And then a couple other guys real quick. John Frangenton, he's 16 years old. He's actually one of the youngest players in the class. He's 16 this entire DSL season. So keep an eye out for him. And then last one here that he highlighted is Jordan Beltran. So these are the top names in the class this time around. All of them had like pretty solid signing bonuses, some serious press. They're all 18 or younger, and they all seem like legitimate high ceiling players. So the Cardinals, I think, had one of their best classes ever in this. And we've seen like the Padres have consistently like mined the international market for talent. Yeah. So it's nice to see the Cardinals jump in, flip a guy that the Padres were interested in, and sign two of probably the top like 25-ish prospects in the class. So.
Yeah, it's fun to see too, because I don't like I think it's unfair of us to totally get on them for doing the quantity over quality path, because then when sometimes you hit on the quantity, right? Where it's like not that you hit, it's not that you get 16 great guys out of it, it's that you took shots on 16 guys, so you end up getting one or two rather than taking shots on 5 or 6 hoping to get one or two. And so like Ray-Rod and Yvonne weren't necessarily some of the best names in the world out there, but ends up being, I mean, Ray-Rod still like could flame out, but like
so good though.
But still,
I'm a believer.
But then part of this too, it's like if Unya or one of these other guys ends up popping off to be a stud, it's like Ryanel's rise this year has like it's not the only reason, but it's one of the major reasons the Cardinal system looks a whole lot better right now, because you've got a stinking Rodriguez under JJ and Liam Doyle right now. So if you have a guy like that in 2 or 3 years where Unya is like 19, 20, pushing into low A or high A, and it's like, oh gosh, this dude's got power, that's huge for the future. And so again, all these guys, I think we're looking at like 2030, 2031 before they make an impact. At the earliest. So we're talking ways away. We're not going to be talking about these guys very often for a while, because they're probably going to DSL and they're probably sticking there for a while. And I mean, Rodriguez is going to be 19 this year. Like, he's the rare player that ends up pushing AA at that age. Most of these guys are not going to be there for a while, but it is fun to see. So,
yeah. But I mean, it's like, that's how you land a superstar that nobody else saw. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody gets to draft first overall, but everybody has pretty similar access to the international market. And that's how the Padres consistently replenish their farm system while also making the playoffs and forfeiting draft picks for signing guys with, qualifying offers attached and stuff like that. And that's how there's all like Leo DeVries. How the hell is he in that system? Oh, it's because they were able to mine the international class. Ethan Salas. Like, I know he's kind of flamed out offensively, but still a guy that people think is one of the best defensive catching prospects we've seen in recent memory. Still a guy that
Dos Santos already.
For the Cardinals, Sebastian Dos Santos.
Like,
stud.
That's like another. So, also too, like, at the end of the day, we'll see what ends up happening with these guys, but it's just exciting to add names like this to the system. But it'll be interesting to see too out of the CBA. Like, there's been talk for a while now, and we'll see if it ends up being talk again or a real thing. But they could end up moving toward an international draft, and that'll change again how the Cardinals approach things like this. Yeah. And I do think that's part of the reason they're bulking up in this front office and their scouting departments, is being prepared for any scenario that comes their way. If it's still an international class, then everyone has access to everybody, but it's relationships, it's the money, it's opportunity that allows you to get a guy, and also pedigree. Like, have you shown the ability to develop guys from these international classics? If you show it, then they're more likely to go to San Diego, because it's like, well, look at San Diego, they keep developing them, so like, I'm gonna go to the team that proves that they know how to handle my progress, and will pay me well and build the relationships. And but if they end up moving toward a draft, then it's going to be, well, the worst teams are at the highest access, which could play in the Cardinals' favor if they're not good for the next few years. They may be the team drafting at the top. I don't know if they all get thrown into one pool, or ends up being two different pools.
Would let teams like restock faster. That'd be so nice, because you have two methods.
So we'll see what ends up happening with all that. But appreciate the support as always. This is a really fun turnout tonight. We hit the 50 like goal. So again, on next podcast, I'll rip one near the top, and then if we hit 50 likes on that one again, I'll hit another one, because I feel like I owe you guys one. But I wanted to wait to support 314. I didn't want to just buy it from some random place or online. But hit that like button on the stream, though. Really appreciate that. Subscribe. Hit that bell notification if you want to get notified when we go live or have videos come up. If you're on audio, subscribe and rate the podcast. Helps us out a ton there. Share with people you know. We'll be at Winter Warm Up this weekend. Andrew and I will be down there. We'll have all the player interviews, Heim Bloom's interviews, Ollie's, DeWitt's, all that stuff posted to our channel almost immediately after they happen. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel all weekend for all those interviews. I'm sure we'll react to Winter Warm Up a little bit as well throughout the weekend. If for some reason some kind of trade happens at some point too, we'll be live on the channel to cover that as we go. We We appreciate the support as always, and just thank you guys for being the best. This is a fun community. We really appreciate the support. Last week have been fun because we've had a huge turnout. We've had a bunch of super chats. We have a bunch of new members. All that's super fun. So if you want to be involved while we're happening, it's all happening on the channel. Make sure you subscribe. You become a member to join our Discord, all that kind of stuff. Yes, winter warm up is this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, so it should be a good time. Any parting thoughts, Sandman?
I think we've mostly covered it all today. Kind of been around a little bit.
My goal is that tomorrow I'm going to add a bunch of. I was trying to do it before the stream. That's why we started a little late. I'm going to try and add a bunch of sounds to our soundboard, so it's not just the Bloom 671 one anymore, but I've got some other sounds that I want us to. And you guys let us know. Is it funny? Is it fun to integrate them? I think it could be timely. But anyways, appreciate you guys. This has been fun. Yeah, we'll see you guys either this weekend for winter warm up, or if some kind of deal goes down, we'll see. And I think there's Birds on the Farm happening this weekend too, so keep your eyes out for that. But as always, thanks for the support. Like the stream, subscribe, share with your friends. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.